Deputy Abbot, Venerable Ngachan Rinpoche. It's been 29 years since the 11th Panchen Lama disappeared in China on this day 29 years ago. So we're doing this event to mark the 29th anniversary of the disappearance of the Panchen Lama. He will be speaking in Tibetan. We have with us Tenzin Kungken, who will interpret that in English. We are delighted to welcome you. We have with us Vijay Kranti, who is an Indian scholar on Tibet, author of more than 24 books, who's been to China Tibet several dozen times. May I now request our secretary, Mr. Prakash Nanda, to introduce the Reverend as well as Vijay Kranti. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Okay, welcome, friends. As our president has already pointed out, that Venerable Rinpoche is the reincarnation. Hello. Hello. Reincarnation of I do not know how to pronounce it. Ng Kechen Dakba Talama Kabje Tenjin Jigme Wangchuk. Then this is Katchen Dakba Tulku Tenjin. I'm sorry. He was born to Jampa Sundiu and Tenjin Bhuti on December 12, 1972 at Bilakupe Tibetan settlement that is in Mysore district of Karnataka. Even as a child, Venerable repeatedly expressed his wish to become a monk. His parents got the child admitted to the nearby monastery, and then he took the responsibility there. Their General Sangye Saraf took the responsibility of being the child's mentor in the monastery as per traditional Tibetan practice. At the tender age of 7, he became a monk. At the age of 9, he started memorizing the devotional prayers of the monastery while at the same time attending the monastic primary school. Thereafter, he was promoted to study Rikchung and Rikchen classes and sailed through the courses successfully. He lived a simple life, following the disciplines and carrying out all the responsibilities that all monks have to go through as part of being a novice in the monastery. On August 22nd, 1990, His Holiness the Dalai Lama recognized the Venerable as the reincarnation of Nagken Darpa. By then, he was 19 years of age. 1991, the enthronement ceremony was held with traditional honors and fanfare at the monastery assembly hall. So, sir, welcome. And about Mr. Vijay Kranti, he's very well known. I don't think he needs much elaboration to the crowd like you or the gathering like you. He's a very senior professional, has with 50 years of experience in print media, TV, radio, photography, corporate communication, and corporate social responsibility. As a journalist, his main subjects of specializations are Tibet, China, Jammu and Kashmir. Currently, he is the chairman of the Center for Himalayan Asian Studies and Engagement, which is a think tank, an active meeting point for Indian and international experts, researchers, writers, and advocacy groups who take keen interest on various aspects of political, social, economic, and strategic developments in China, Tibet, and other parts of the region. He is a celebrated photographer too, with his special areas of focus being, Tibet, Ladakh, and Himalayan Buddhism. In fact, he has won many international acclaim for his unique and aesthetic documentation of Tibetan life and culture. Um, and most important, he has over a dozen books to his credit in English, Hindi, Tibetan, and Spanish. These include Dalai Lama Speaks, his famous coffee table book on His Holiness Dalai Lama, and his Hindi style book for Discovery Channel. He received the coveted KK Birla Foundation Fellowship in Journalism for his work on Tibet. His latest book is the comic book of Dalai Lama, the Soldier of Peace. The book has been published in English, Tibetan, Hindi, and Spanish. Welcome you, Mr. Kranti.
Thank you, Prakash. May I now invite Simran to tell us about the institution of Panchen Lama. Thank you.
The Panchen Lama is one of the most important figures in the Gelug tradition, with its spiritual authority second only to the Dalai Lama. Along with the Council of High Lamas, he is in charge of seeking out the next Dalai Lama. Panchen is a portmanteau of Pandit and Chenpo, which means a great scholar. Traditionally, the Panchen Lama is the head of Tashil Phuno Monastery, and I hope my pronunciation is correct, and holds religious and secular power over the Sang region centered in Shigaste. The Dalai Lama and the Pancham Lama are closely connected, and each participates in the process of recognizing the other's reincarnations. The current 11th Panchen Lama, Gedun Choinke Niam, was recognized by the 14th Dalai Lama on 14th of May 1995. 3 days later, the 6-year-old Panchen Lama was kidnapped by the Chinese government and his family was taken into custody. The Chinese government instead named Gyaltsen Norpu as the 11th Panchen Lama. Their nomination has been widely rejected by Buddhists in Tibet and abroad, while governments have called for information about and the release of the Panchen Lama. Gedum Choinki Niam has never been publicly seen since 1995.
Thank you, Simran. May I now invite Venerable Rinpoche. As I said, he'll speak in Tibetan and it will be translated by the young man sitting on his left. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. That's all. Tambo de la ya chelo ni do ni sab shi chindang nga be teri chubdun teri en penchen konda chuji ba jizun tenzin gi du shi tele penso pa sang bo cho ene teri ngi chindang nga be teri chubdun ni mo de da jisung chi be tuzu jires.
Welcome, everyone. As we come together to mark the 29th anniversary of the enforced disappearance of religious leader, the 11th Panchen Lama, Jezun Tenzin Gendu Yishe Tile Pitsope Sambo, also known as Gendin Chuknima, at the age of 6. I pay my heartiest greetings to all gathered here today.
Ta degi tanda de teri tuzu de mixe shiucha de yores yana shung ki ene chiba lo chu yin chi pencher bu chi yang si di ane jisung chebe tuzu chi chinda ngabe teri chubde ni mot cha de yores.
Today marks the day at which the Chinese government have abducted a child of 6 years age.
Nurba ta den du gala nge tangbo de le ya yao penchen se de ngara ju phe na le ya chidang ngara ju chulo so so gi la chen ma bu yo bares ta phe na le ya kyap chen bu shu se ne yong cho ge de ne chi gi ma ju nam la ni man da wa sa la yao penchen se je ne chi gi lu su de chi da da na shi chen ye de chi bu shi kyap de ya res.
As all religions have, in Tibetan Buddhism, the relationship between the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama is like the saying, the sun and moon in the sky, and mm, um, Dalai Lama and Panchen on earth. We have a saying like that. So it is a really traditional and spiritual bond which dates back to the time of Lord Buddha.
타 링규 돈 슈베나 네 야갈야 고덤 부드 아도 샤케토바 슈베 카도 데라야 파바 랍조르 생에치다 다가네지 파바 중 가보니기 네 파바 랍조르 세데 벤저름 지차데야레 아 파바 중 가고 단다 경오름 지차데 파바 제리스 차데레 대뒤간에 카와 강진 경디 네 산제기 템바디 네 딘데기 투구 생에 디리지 코란주니기 당보들레 양으로 무지 바바 제레스기 되는 바바 중기 벽이 가와 강진 신감 등에게 뒤치기 있어. 엔 델라 바바 랍조르기 네 대기 지게 지 가르쳐 겹조다 보시다. 엔 베게는 지 소시도 냠으로 제야지도 야간에 토마 산지 샤 슈베 카도네 담자 체베기 엔 계전 담보시 사데레스.
So the spiritual relationship of the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama dates back to the time of Lord Buddha, 2,500 years ago in India. At the time of Lord Buddha, there was his disciples. One of them was called Papa Rabjor, who was the manifestation of Panchen Lama, and Chungao, who was the manifestation of the Dalai Lama. So at the time, Lord Buddha, when he asked that who is going to, preserve and to preserve the Tibetan Buddhist religion in Tibet, and Papa Rabjor, who was the Panchen Lama, he said, I will support the Tibetan Buddhism inside Tibet. And Chungao, who's the manifestation of the Dalai Lama, he said that he will lead the the preservation and the development of the Tibetan Buddhism inside Tibet. So at that time, the relationship between Panchen Lama and Dalai Lama was born.
다 디게니기 알아 지게 링규기 내주르지 속도르지 쇼에나 야오 벤제스 최단데 니지 최용고아레스 엔 다마세 드랍주드베 나래야 엔 야오 벤쟁이 다 고제 디게디 엔 가라주 믹세기 다지 가르쳐 콜라주니 얍시 양시 지기질 파주 문진 슈레다 양시 문진 쇼자 마제베 엔 텔야 초조기 드네 가르쳐다 지게 게솔롱 도보 보조 원로 메가 나에 어딘데치도 다 라마다 로마기 데와지아레스.
So as I mentioned earlier, the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama share a special spiritual relationship, which in Tibetan term referred to as the Yapse Gompo, which means in English father and son protectors. And the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama, they are responsible for finding out the reincarnation of each other. So, for example, when the Panchen Lama passes away, the Dalai Lama will lead the search for the reincarnation of the Panchen Lama who was just passed. And similarly, in search of reincarnation of the Dalai Lama, the Panchen Lama at the time will lead the search for the reincarnation. So it's they help each other in recognizing the reincarnation of each other.
다 디게디 지 내주디 칼라 간잠지 에네 켈라조 자외 사르고바 나부조 켄겐 바르지레 이네 양에 천수츠도 게 직슈야리 가서 갑종 루뷰도 좀 쉬어베나 에네 단데 겨 벤칭 양세기 루뷰 디게디 대가 베베기 지조 나라 지기 루뷰기 감종 체다 토보지 여바다 다가나시 코나즈니 파주 제주 제고에디 마라조 로마조 야 소았담네 라마티 양시 총로치 에네 디 라마디 양시 총고에 김제 조 가서는 공기 차례 나의 슈기 최가에서도 양시도 총고아레스.
So the real idea between of the reincarnation is mainly to fulfill the prayer and wishes of a teacher's disciple who wishes to continue the legacy and the work that have been done and in continuation of his teachers. So in Buddhism, the disciples of a teacher, they will pray. They will pray for the reincarnation of their teacher to happen because the teacher, his legacy has to be continued. Therefore, for that reason, the reincarnation of lamas, as per the wishes of their disciples, it happens.
디 나라조 작업지기 시주 람루도 데 개마레 디 추조 랑기 ene 믹세기 엔 조단 지어레
So it has nothing to do with political. It is basically a the religious thing. That reincarnation process is not a political issue, rather it is a religious tradition of Tibetan Buddhism.
자다다 대랭에 데 ene 데서 첨부터시 lumbi ene 켄잡기 맹도네 nga진 다버투고 가진 텐즈 수dim기 엔 되는데 소 캐란조를 슈두 제다 다나시 넘버조 게지기 단다 사르고바 임바 손자 디톨 네주디게디 강모여 임바디 지 게지 딩제 갈바 세시 제도에데 넘버줄 텐데 고급 요르 삼기도
So today I, Darpa Akshin Tuku Kachi Tenji Sutim, as the deputy abbot of the Tashilupo Monastery, on behalf of the Tibetan people, Buddhist devotees of the Himalayan region, and all who champion human rights, religious freedom, the rights of the children, and the millions of devotees of the Panchen Lama lineage, I stand before you to make an urgent appeal to the foreign government for your kind support in securing the release of the 11 Panchen Lama from the grasp of the PRC government.
펜나 단대차라 야나 슝기 변나야 지가르소라 셀 게베 담라 시비치기어레 총세로 무치기 나다한테다 딱 만주 지기 슈 유메기 내주디에 베데 사부 슈 모드베 엔 디게디 로 망부지 만주 게지 딩세 갈파 세시 슈에레 랭구 망부지 빼버레다 단대차라야 디리 디데 내주지게 조요 마레스
So I make this full appeal considering the dire situation that is happening inside Tibet. In recent years, the situation inside Tibet has become increasingly critical and serious due to the excessive repression of the PRC government. The Tibetan people are deprived of their basic human rights, freedom of religion, the child right in Tibet. And for Tibetans who disagree with the policy of the PRC government and who oppose the PRC government's stand are arbitrarily arrested, imprisoned, and enforcedly disappeared, which constitute a serious problem that continues to exist today inside Tibet. So my primary appeal is for your help in the immediate release of the 11th Panchen Lama, who is one of the highest leaders in Tibetan Buddhism, and addressing the long-standing plight of the Tibetan people inside Tibet.
단대차라야 최대 라메다 집에 톱다 엔 변나 야나 슝기 삼주 메도바데 중앙 미데 지금 남산 지수치 지수치어자 마스 이게 안쪽이 지금 삼주 메도베 경제 체네 엔 지금 딜야 내도 뭐지 dro다네 엔 지금 가자 타마 통해 매겐 더버지다 딘데기 도주기 시고지 강에 용도 용시 말했어
So, as I mentioned already, the Tibetan people inside Tibet oppose the Chinese government's policy. They are arbitrarily detained, and in other instances, they are enforcedly disappeared and severely punished to up to imprisonment terms of 10 to 18 years.
안주 단대 벤제 군다 주바초 별로 쇼도 오늘 전에 지 별나려야 지 동네 지게지다 지 야나 쇼려야 비고 쉬야다 나와 겹서 주여 소시 다다 khoa 쇼메도 가라 근데 지게 별로 지 내주 같이하는데 다시 지 내주 카세 내버도 근데 지 쇼바네 쇼사 매게 근데 강에 냠 타와테네 지우동 굽게 제주 개구 로라 근데 벤제 군다 주바치 부초 로버도 공부 잡아래 어느 업종 가라지 마데 패요 말에다 얘네 대용시 된데 개요 말에 되게 내다 자타고 싶을 때
During the time of the great 10th Panchen Lama, who was the predecessor of the current Panchen Lama, who the 10th Panchen Lama happens to be a very staunch supporter of the Tibetan people's rights, as can be seen from his 7,000 character edition, which he handed over to the Chinese premier at the time, which consists of the truth and the reality that he saw inside Tibet, and the living condition, which is very poor, in which Tibetan people are living inside Tibet. So when the 10th Panchen Lama was alive, the Tibetan inside Tibet, they have hope in their heart that something good will happen, everything will be okay. But sadly, in 1989, at the age of just 50, the 10th Panchen Lama, he passed away suddenly and under very mysterious circumstances.
아니 여탐지 캠베 문진나네 시동국의 구주공화 진당갑에 때려 줍시니 여탐지 캠베 초기 양생 문진도스 세다도 나와디 다시는 비 고다 다시 베미 용 문제다 아니 되게 나주 하루 정도 교긴도 추이니마 초 아주 자주 yap세니 펜션기 문진 추리 여원나신기 라로기 루규 콘데 예베 토네 추적이 루스 시저샤네 이제 콘데 주베 양세 프메데 문진도 스나와레스 아니 공부 좋네 양세 교고 싶으시 꾸담바레스 이네 공로 좋네 공 가수 참여한다다 샤인데가 아주 셈나리 야야 나수 실레비 오레스
So, in compliance with the wishes of the Tashikwa monastery, as well as the Tibetan people, both inside and outside Tibet, His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama officially announced on May 14th, 1995, that Genten Chögying Ima, the 6-year-old child born in Harizong in Nakchu, Tibet, was the true incarnation of the 10th Panchen Lama. This announcement was based on the tradition of the unique spiritual relationship shared between the Dalai Lamas and the Panchen Lamas, known in Tibetism as Yapse Gompo, the father and son protectors. So historically, a reciprocal recognition between the Dalai Lama and the Panchen Lama has been customary, underscoring the profound spiritual significance. The 6-year-old Panchen Lama, after his recognition, was bestowed with the religious name Tenzin Gyendun Yishin Zombel Sampo. However, just 3 days later, on 17th May, the 6-year-old child was suddenly abducted, along with his entire family, by the Chinese government. And to this day, he is nowhere to be seen and heard of.
다리 코랑 통에 매바 찬 딱한들 론유스고 노싱아레 대하나씩 야나 쉬운기 내 가르쳐 랑삼기 아주 출루 강중 태주체 간들 현재 누부시에서 투시 근데 왕요 이체도 벤신 군대 주집에 좀마도 소는 거버레스 엔데 꾸딘나베기 엔 코바조 찹시기 라자 배셔바 쪼르지 미르 마도치 얘기 특별 최다 다가나시기 남도 수토네 근데 제가 자원이 말에 야나 마비 슝라 최요 말와스
For 29 years, the world has not seen the 11th Panchen Lama or has known of his whereabouts, even whether he is still alive or not. On 29 November 1995, the PRC government, in blatant disregards for the rights and sentiments of the Tibetan people and followers of the Panchen Lama, imposed a false Panchen Lama, another child by the name Gyaltsen Loma, who is today a puppet used by the Chinese government as a political tool.
이제 군단 주바초기 벽이 최대로 정토라 변난게 디두 존재체도 야나 의숑라야 니세 이루티된도 스파 표버레스 원래 세메께 구소 있는 려단 벽야갑다 때백체도레스 근데 군단 주주바기 양세디 다대 군단 주시비고 주베 공신 나시지 아주 둘거야체도 양세를 부제 네 차례 개가 전부 망보지요레스 디 하장기 내가 좀 쇼차데 원래 주지바데
10th Panchen Lama, he sacrificed his own life in order to preserve Tibet's language and culture, religion, and notably through his 7,000 character petition, which calls for the genuine improvement in Tibet's social, economic, and cultural plight at the time. Moreover, the significance of the 11th Panchen Lama is very important because the 11th Panchen Lama plays a very important role in the continuation of the legacy of the 10th Panchen Lama.
단대 차라 캐나주 아니 벤제르 무치 고라 말아주 단다 벤제르 무치 견디 추니마 초 고로 그 rumbu치 딱 단다 고로 소송을 폐기하래 안 된대 인디가라 된대기 유자고 링다 가요기 단다 빵다 사고지다 얘네 지게 된대 고야 다동 얘네 nga래 라베 네 캐나주기 지도인 작업 기술자 되게 배전 나오라나스
So far, many efforts have been put in order to ascertain any information on the 11th Panchen Lama. I reiterate and urge the governments and international organizations to continue to support Tibetan cause, particularly in the search of the 11th Panchen Lama, by calling the Chinese government to allow any independent, unfettered access to Tibet to ascertain the actual situation of the 11th Panchen Lama.
단대 차라야 지도인 작업 기술자 체면 조조다 시숑기 에네 지게 말아주기 파 레드윈도 전쟁 나도 스파슈야 예스
I present a 5-point appeal to the foreign governments and the international community to urge the government of the People's Republic of China the following points.
자치 얘기 쉬운다 예지 소데카 멜로 니사고른 가소 참여들 교회 벤션을 뭐지 군대 주지바 지준 땡지게 되시 틀려서 빼서 뭐 군대 최근 뭐 쇼게 자라게 내다 셰도 요교 잖아 쉬운 지지 흉섭 미나 벤션을 뭐체다 무수 잔테 투답기 흉제 팀자 템베 나도 요 쉬기 is
My first appeal is to urge the foreign governments, the United Nations, and the international community to pass a motion and resolutions urging the PRC government to allow unfettered access to the government ambassadors in China to meet with the Panchen Lama, who has been abducted for 29 years, and ascertain his actual whereabouts and well-being.
전쟁이바들 가수는 지지의 흉다 예지 소데카네 벤션을 뭐지 군대 주지발라 공로 주를 다바로 멜로니 사고린 로미 토파 주대로 토파 집에 토파서 돌아 그들 조수 토네 시절 로미 토다 토네 메베 뭐시 천다게 생다지 부터 영어 쉬기 인스
Secondly, I urge the foreign governments and the international community to honor the 11th Panchen Lama with a court, recognizing him as a victim of enforced disappearance for almost 29 years, and as someone who has been denied with his basic human rights, including religious freedom, rights of the child, and other fundamental human rights of freedom of expression, movement, and residence.
다 전제 숨바데 가서 지지의 흉다 예지 소데카도 근세 벤션 rumbuchi 뉴도 로드 용탑수 체투 겹쳐 천실도 위 중간 임수지 랭구베와 시카로 나오슈기 is
Third, in order to enable his immediate release and as a way to draw attention to his dire situation, I appeal to the foreign government, the United Nations, and the international community to observe the birthday of the 11th Panchen Lama.
또 시바데 멜로 니스링 가송 참고 벤션 rumbuchi 양시 소시 소지 운진 구샵 차라를 rumbuchi 표현난기 아니 강중도 전손치 좀봐 첩시바 조남 로고로 가다 로드 용탑수 gyabjo nangro nangshe pyo nangi nedang tadunya hajangi zata chewa chi zata yinbe tabara pyomi gyata gebe ranglu mesheki tablam ne tenne ene gyana shungla shiwe ngogo che shimbe yoba de chelo nyedong yame nisani nang ranglu nishutsanga yinba pyogi 아쉬 시바 차원 노블라다 다가는 시 랑로 게주 게지를 빼베 답변라 니기 변난게 랑로 메시 체베 콘수 되니 소소 랑게 체베 소로 다네 변난 모여 기강에 셋업수 냠데 게조다 잠리 미망기서 게임비 제시 옆에 지제 슝다 예지 소데 칸네 변난게 모여 강에를 뉴도 셋업수 응알레 겹조 슈세 나로 나세 베고 슈에이스
I urge the foreign governments, the United Nations, and the international community to actively call for the release of Chadel Rinpoche, a Lama of Tashi Rinpo Monastery, who was the head of the search committee for the 11 Panchen Lama. He faced harassment and was placed under house arrest, after which he was sentenced to 6 years imprisoned on trumped-up charges, and his whereabouts remain unknown to this day. We also call for the unconditional release of thousands of Tibetan political prisoners who languish in Chinese prison to this day. On account of the dire situation, at least 157 Tibetans inside Tibet has burned themselves alive. Notably, a 25-year-old Tibetan singer, Tamon Nobu, and 81-year-old in 2022. The self-immolators have sacrificed their most cherished life in order to draw the attention of the international community and the United Nations to the critical situation inside Tibet. Therefore, we urge the foreign governments, the UN, and the international community to respond positively to the plea of Tibetans inside Tibet.
ngabadilaya arazu phenangi ngondo shi cheno hoskyamwe chibu chi chona nyudo phen pepto da ne khongki gongshi yobade nime ulamki sijula motu gyabjo naro na shu is
Fifth and last, the aspiration of Tibetans inside Tibet is for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to be able to return to Tibet at the earliest. Therefore, I strongly appeal to the foreign governments, the UN, and the international community to consider taking concrete initiatives to support His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Central Tibetan Administration to enable the resolution of the Sino-Tibet conflict through the mutually beneficial middle way approach.
다버 치게 슈만 예지 소데칸 베드인 gyabjo shukchen na shime tuji che shu yo ma se ene gondo ya ma chue nyesen shu be donzen nga jing ki ene de kazo ra nga bo de na tenden ke bo sai ma bo ji simhan da dewa yo ma chue top down ene chi chue be redun chi yin be ene tande chi ge gi ta shung ba yeji sodekan be na ni mo ye la zata ki kang ye set up so gyabjo nga le shukchen na ju ye be asu ise tempo yo tuji che dasa chi potential be ro la je rengan ne lusma is
I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the foreign governments and their people, as well as international organizations, for their continued and unconditional support for the Tibetan cause. The 5-point appeal I have presented are the appeal of millions of Tibetans and Buddhist devotees for democracy and freedom, which is why we are confident that foreign governments and international organizations will increase their support in order to resolve the urgent and deteriorating situations Tibetan inside Tibet are experiencing. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Rinpoche. I'm delighted to acknowledge the presence of friends from England and Australia in the audience. Welcome. May I now invite Mr. Vijay Kranti, who has been keeping a watch on the developments in Tibet. to make his remarks. Vijay.
Thank you, Venkat, for giving me this chance. It's an honor to be with all of you and speak on a subject which has been very close to my heart. And thank you, His Eminence Majan Vijay, for giving all the details about the history of the institution of Panchen Lama and his relations with Dalai Lama and the conditions as the issue developed over the years that Panchen Lama has disappeared. He was arrested as a child of just 5 or 6 years, and till today, nobody knows, and China is not sharing any information about his well-being or whereabouts. What I'm going to talk is a little, I will be adding to what His Eminence has already said. I'll be talking about the why side of it, why China is doing all this, and how the whole story has developed after China occupied Tibet in 1951. The basic change we are seeing is that everything started with Chairman Mao's dictating that opium is, the religion is opium of the masses, and communism is totally dead against religion. So when China occupied Tibet, when Mao's People's Liberation Army marched into Tibet as occupiers, since then, the whole development of China's attitude on religion, especially Tibetan religion, from treating it as an opium to current day, where the Chinese government is seen to be taking a U-turn completely, because we are all surprised that President Xi Jinping is so keen to occupy the next incarnation of Dalai Lama, and the same Dalai Lama for whom he and his predecessors have used all of language and insulting adjectives like, anyhow, I don't want to repeat that. So from there, now they want to occupy the institution of Dalai Lama. I give you a background, how it has evolved. I look at it as 4 stages, how it has developed. From 1951, when China occupied Tibet, they came as saviors. They declared that they are liberating Tibet, and they declared that the Tibetans need to be salvaged from the state of being slaves of religious. And they gave a 17-point. They say that they signed a 17-point agreement between Tibet and China, and the reality is it was the entire text was written, drafted by the Chinese side. The Tibetans were only forced to sign on it. So this first stage was when China offered what they call liberating the Tibetans, and they promised them total freedom of religion and all kind of basic freedoms and prosperity. This era of promises lasted from 1951 to 1959. So soon after signing the 17-point agreement, soon after the PLA marched into Tibet, the real face of the Chinese Communist Party started showing up. And I don't go into the detail of how they came with guns, and then they demanded for their hundreds, for the thousands of, more than 20,000, the total population of Chinese army slowly went up beyond the total population of Lhasa city, and they started demanding the food from local people, from the local government. And the result was the prices went very high, and when all these things were happening, in the other sides of the other parts of Tibet, Chinese People Liberation Army was trying to followed Mao's one basic principle, which said that they had realized that Tibetans, a religious Tibetan for China was a taboo, for unacceptable. And Mao's policy was that religiously that if we can knock out religion from the heart of Tibetans, they will be patriotic. So if you put it in arithmetic way, it is a Tibetan minus religion is equal to a great patriotic Chinese. So in 1905, up to 1959, the promises were given and broken to the situation that Chinese, the Tibetan people got fed up with the Chinese. And there was a revolt at all levels, which finally culminated into the March uprising of Tibetan people in 1959. As a result of this, Dalai Lama had to run for his life. He came to India, and as though in the United Nations records, it was stated that Chinese killed more than 18,000 Tibetans over a period of 2 to 3 weeks. So the first phase of giving promises ended in 1959, and the second phase started with Mao's victim that the Tibetan minus religion into a patriotic Chinese. So as a result, the Dalai Lama left and the uprising was crashed. Then there was nothing binding the Communist Party of China or the People's Liberation Army to demolish religion in Tibet. And this process went on till 1980s. And one of the peak period was the Cultural Revolution, the 10 years of Cultural Revolution, in which every sign of Tibetan culture was destroyed, the religion was destroyed. Even if Tibetan was found eating tea in the bamboo barrel based on sound, it was considered to be something which is unacceptable to communism, something which is deception against or something unacceptable against the Chinese supremacy over Tibet. People were arrested and they were what you call thumbsing. The People's Court used to denounce and many times would stone to death, used to practice what you call this the money which is prayer beads or beads. So from 1959 to 1980, Mao Zedong and the following the later communist masters, they tried to implement this policy of knocking out religion from Tibet, from Tibetan people's minds and their hearts. And the reports they were getting continuously from the Communist Party cadres in Tibet to Beijing were showing that Tibetan people are very happy. They are thankful to Chairman and Mother there, and they are thankful to the Communist Party that they came and liberated them. So Beijing bosses were very happy about their policy. In 1987 and 1989, there was huge uprising of Tibetan people against the Chinese government. And that was the time it shocked the bosses in Tibet. Not amazing that same Tibetans about whom reported that they are happy with communism, happy to be ruled by China, and suddenly they have woken up to the extent that it was at that time the governor, Chandok, who had to use these tanks and armored vehicles to crush the Lhasa. Very interestingly, it was the same method, the same formula, which was used later in 1989 to crush the uprising of Tiananmen Square. But after 1989, when the Chinese bosses sat down and crushed the 1987 uprising, they had to sit down and find out what went wrong. And final analysis was and our policy of controlling religion or destroying religion is not valid. The same children, boys, young boys and girls and monks and nuns in the street of Lhasa and other cities in 1989 who had never seen the Dalai Lama or his rule in their life, even their parents had not seen it. They were asking for the Dalai Lama's return. They were asking for freedom from China. So then the policy was revised. So it was in 1991 when the new policy of rather than destroying religion and in place occupying it from within started. So that is where you see the Panchanama case and Karma case. So it was at that time, because in 1989, the 10th Panchanama had in very mysterious circumstances, that is what Rinpoche pointed out. It was same Panchanama whom China had used during 1951-59 period to promote him as a balance, counterbalance to Dalai Lama, and after the Dalai Lama's escape, it was same Lama whom Chinese government used as a tool to replace the Dalai Lama. He was given all the same positions in the national council as the vice president, one of the vice presidents of China, and plus all of whatever designations which were reserved for Dalai Lama or passed on to Panchen Lama in the hope that they will use it as a tool. But it was very soon, Panchen Lama prepared a document challenging Mao Zedong, telling him that you have been promising liberation of Tibetans and you have been promising to bring good to Tibetans, but your cadres in Tibet are playing havoc. And in this 70,000 character petition to Mao, he challenged Mao's claims of Tibet. As a result, he was arrested, and his arrest continued far beyond the Cultural Revolution. It was much later when he was released and given limited freedom, and then he was used to pacify the Tibetans. But then I think in 1989, when Panchen Lama was allowed to visit Tibet, and at that time in a public meeting, he openly criticized Chinese masters of Beijing of destroying Tibet peoples, of receiving their own promises and destroying Tibet's culture and committing atrocities on Tibetan people. And it was within 48 hours that he suddenly died. And it was said that he died of Tibetan people believe that something played. So now after 1989, death of Panchen Lama, realization of religion. In 1991, the new policy of occupying Tibet from within, Tibetan religion occupying from within started. And as it to start implementing it, the first two things were done was find out the reincarnation of Panchen Lama, find out the reincarnation of Karmapa. So in 1992, a committee was formed to find out the reincarnation of Karmapa. And interestingly, the Chinese government became quite liberal and they invited some very senior men from Hunte monastery of India in Sikkim, which belonged to the previous Karmapa. And we invited them to help them in finding the reincarnation of the previous Karmapa. And that Karmapa was installed with ceremony which was telecast live in Chinese national TV. And published plain notes of admirers and followers of the previous Panchen Lama from countries, Germany and France and other countries were invited to participate and be witness to that function. So that is the story of Karma. 3 years later, they worked on finding the reincarnation of. So same story happened. A committee was formed like in the case of Karmapa and Panchalama. The committee of senior monks who will do the rituals of the reincarnation. And the boss of these both committees was a Communist Party officer. So a committee headed by a Communist Party officer would find out the reincarnation of Maha, would find reincarnation of Panchalama. Something very funny that on the one hand they believe that religion is poison, religion is opium, and on the other side it is the Communist Party that such a committee to find the reincarnations. Our story main today is of Panchalama. When Chalden Rinpoche, he went through the entire rituals and put zeroing on one side as the most effective reincarnation of Panchalama. You have already heard the story about reincarnation, how we find it. I will not repeat it, but when the Dalai Lama gave his blessings and recognition to this improvement in Lama, the Chinese could not tolerate that the Dalai Lama should play a role in it. So that was what triggered Chinese action of arresting his baby and his parents. So he listened, and then very soon they installed a boy of their choice. So since then, the Chinese policy of occupying capital religion from Tibet has continued. In 2007, China came with a new law. When they realized that the Tibetan people in all their demonstrations, in all their opposition against China, they are talking about they are shooting what the Dalai Lama and they are freeing Tibetan religion. Then they took this occupying religion from within to the next level. So in 2007, the Chinese government came out with a policy, what they call Order 5, which said that the final authority of identifying, certifying, educating, and installing any reincarnate Lama, the Tulkus, which include the Lama and Panchalama and all others, lies with the Communist Party of China. So this Order 5 became the law, which means, which even went to the extent, if you read it a little various terminology, it would mean no reincarnated Lama is allowed to be born without taking permission of Communist Party of China on a printed paper. So this is the policy which is going on since then. And now they are bent upon, once they have seen that there are 157 Tibetans who are young boys, young girls, monks, nuns, when they put themselves on fire. The only thing they are talking of is free Tibet. Now, the leaders of the Xi Jinping have realized that the Dalai Lama is not an individual leader. You see, call him British, call him all bad names. And now it is time that we should have the constitution of the Dalai Lama. So when you see today that China is bent upon every day, this reincarnation of the Dalai Lama will be found, will be installed, will be recognized by the Communist Party of China and no one else. That clearly shows, number one, their fear about the Dalai Lama, their acceptance that the Tibetan people have refused to accept Chinese and all of that. It is a clear certification that Tibetan people's desire for a free Tibet is not that. So now all these elements, they feel that if next Dalai Lama is a puppet in their hand, the Tibetans will fall in line and they will behave the way the Communist Party of China or the Bolshevik regime. So this is the background which I wanted to explain as a journalist, because this part of the story is what you call the application part of political game which is going on in Tibet, in Tibet by China about the future of Tibet, about the future of the institution of Dalai Lama. And today is the right day when we are observing that day when Panchen Lama was abducted by the Chinese government, and since then, over the last 29 years, they have refused to share not only information, but whereabouts of the Panchen Lama. They have refused to even entertain any other inquiries from the side of the Tibetan people, whether inside Tibet or outside, to know about the safety of Panchen Lama. So this is what I wanted to share with you, the political perspective and the why side of what is happening in Tibet. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Now, question and answer session. Yeah, Vichitra? Yeah.
Okay, so is it working? All right, so I have a question. Okay, so my question is, now that it's clear that the Chinese have wanting to destroy all the institutions of Buddhism, they're actually installing a communist person as a Panchen Lama. In 25 years, he's become a stooge, whoever he selected earlier, the 11th, of Shipei. Why would you want him back and to head the Tibetans outside? Think out of the box and think of someone else. Thank you.
자외 다다 캬나 숑기 펜셔 부치 다 쿠란 소기지 가르쳐 다지 양생 문진 지에 디 쿠란 추서 샤피와 다는 슈가 지네 라마 달로메 두시체 다 감들 지기 양생 문진 슈고 이니 디데 캬나 숑기 다데 회기 이니 추저 다 맞자도 주다지 조르 지미로 Frank, sure, Tanga Jana, Mabu Shuki, Shuki thinking of once. So the Dugala, the Lichana, Koranzo with the Swear, the any Susuki, Wanja Pujota, Chelsea Pujota, so we reach the surface.
So, as I mentioned earlier, the process of implementation is apolitical, which is not political at all. rather it is a religious tradition of the Tibetan Buddhism, and the fact that the Chinese government, which is an atheist government, doesn't believe in religion, wants to elect their own Panchen Lama is solely for establishing their, rule over Tibet. The election of their own Panchen Lama, is to use him as a puppet to what do you call it? To spread the Communist Party and the idea rather than promote religion.
How many cultural filters are there in China?
Just a minute.
See, now that you have made the 5-point program, since 29 years, what all efforts you have made, and how many were they successful, and what were the what was the report card of those your attempts?
다 단대 차라 나란조기 레고 자메데 아레레 유럽레 냠리캬조 단다 엘 레고 데게데라 마주 지 가르스었다 리쿠드 오지 슈레 엔다나시 두스파 체리 또 엔다나시 아니 케르 무치에 네베게 모스파 짜네 데게기 슈슈야레 다 주제 가져 퇴마도 세야디 소소기 ene 제일 예수수기 이게 여러분에게 되게 파수 계지 딩제가 파수 저리치 두조토야 야나쇼 쉬야디 다 완전히 단대찬 주제 디제 토스 슈투고도 말한 중원이 슈투 지야디 다 근데 자리 지금 소수 지 작업카라 슈자카라 뭐부터 간다보다 자다 자시 그래서 다 준비 가서 퇴마도 세야 돼. 단대 차가 아주 슈즈 되게 만들어. 야나 슝 시주 탐다 차라 잡는다 아니. 딜러지 잠린 섬에 있다지 가서. 다지 벤처다 다 감지 차다 찹시다. 되게 망고 지유디 가라. 되게 먼저에 다 준비 디테일스 슈트도 아주 슈트라들 같이 있어.
So far, we have advocate for the release of Panchen Lama in different avenues. For example, we have advocated about the case of the Panchen Lama in countries such as the United States, England, European countries, as well as the United Nations. And we have also appealed to them to urge the PRC government to improve the situation inside Tibet, including the release of the Panchen Lama. And as of now, it's difficult to point out which what results have been have come out of all these advocacy work, because with the intensification of surveillance inside Tibet by the PRC government and the increasing power of China, it has effects on the appeal and the relation with the other countries. So until we get the results, we will keep on advocating for the release of Panchen Lama, but it is certainly difficult with the power of China in today's world.
The question is, how many times have you approached International Court of Justice for releasing his? How many times have you approached ICJ, International Court of Justice, for releasing this Lama? Number one. Number two, how many prisoners are there in their jails? Prisoners of Philippines. in the Chinese jails? Number third, once you have approached somebody from ICJ or not, if yes, what is the result?
단대 차랑 만주요 토네 단지 슈가 나시레 만주요 슈베 체브레 다가나시 에네 지 tumre de thos na khona so de shugi sene chari phugi yana shora pa chari phugi se de so na so ne de ande chari de chone yana shora de ne chari na mazul de de thos tata shu do khazan de de lega de gyabjong de lega mo bo ji tyen go ba so sa gyab so so gudi ne khashiya khadu shu tu ba da khashiya gyuni qora gen shu go de ma
So, as I mentioned earlier, there hasn't been any concrete result of our advocacy work because during our advocacy, we, as a Tibetan, give our appeal for different governments and the United Nations experts. And they have also given us their promise that they will relay our message to the Chinese government. But it is difficult to show what exact result that we have gotten so far regarding the case of the Panchen Lama.
Just a moment, let me complete that. As a journalist, I have been following the Tibetan developments since 1972. It's already 50 years. And one thing which has impressed me as an observer from outside, that Tibetan society, in spite of their very small number, their total number in exile is 150,000, and they are spread over so many countries. But in spite of that, their outreach has been quite impressive. If I just give you the example of organizations like Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch, and so many other organizations. You know, the Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, they adopted Panchen Lama as their special case for many years. So, whether ICJ is capable of handling it or not, whether China will allow them or not, that is one issue. But as far as the efforts of Tibetan people is concerned, I think it has been quite impressive despite their small number. And this issue has been on agenda of European Parliament, the American Congress, and so many other organizations, including the German Parliament. I think if I tell you that in Germany, every year, 800 municipality offices, the mayors of 800 towns and cities, they write a flag of Tibet march every year. At least that should convince you that working with their cause, they are making it. They get results or not. I think that's a different issue.
I think the US Congress last year, 2 months back or 3 months back, in March legislation, which are pretty clear that any interference on the part of Chinese government in determining the next Dalai Lama will be not acceptable to them. The US Congress has passed this law I think 2 months back. And last year there are some sort of similar sort of and some restrictions were imposed on some people living in the state.
Gentleman from Australia, please.
Is there any evidence, covert or otherwise, that the Panchen Lama was not murdered many years ago? Is there any proof of life?
죽었어요. 너도 죽지. 안돼 차올라 가지고 다 벤제코다 주지바디 슈 요바지 가지고 이제 지기에서 좀세데 다 가래 있으나 안돼 차라 지기 호란 슈 요바다 다가나시 무르치 차다오나 다 그래서 소부 슈 요바지 가지고 이제 제대야레스 안돼 차라 가지고 중가 땅 남겨야래 네 코란 체도 가지고 슈도 랭구 빼기야레스 네 자나 쇼기 네 내가 하고도 좀 아이다 삼설 다들 다 지금 이 슈도 근데 가서 표정 내다를 맞으시 가지고 네저 파서 사고도 해 하고 네 나래서 또 여기에서
So, taking into consideration the unavailability of verifiable information on the Panchen Lama, we believe that the Panchen Lama is still alive. Therefore, every year we celebrate his birthday, and as well as we remember his the day that he was inducted by the Chinese government. So, without any concrete evidence, we believe that he's still alive, and the PRC will not, kill him that easily. So, yes.
Tripti.
Can you hear me? Yeah, my name is Tripti Nath. My question is very akin to what the gentleman just asked. It's been almost 30 years that the Panchen Lama, the 11th Panchen Lama, has been missing. And the theme of the discussion today is the 11th Panchen Lama, alive or dead. So you've been advocating to foreign governments and influential groups, international influential groups, to secure his release. So obviously you believe that he's alive, right? But what is the foundation of this belief? What gives you this belief that he's alive? And the other question is that you said, all of you said that the Chinese government has been consistently stonewalling any inquiries about his whereabouts for almost 3 decades. So what gives you the optimism and the confidence that they will finally come out with some information, or they will respond to your appeals to grant some ambassadors a chance to give what you said, unfettered access to the life to Panchen Lama if he's alive? Thank you.
the test zirda gonjo woristo kiragi tanda the test karsone yanzu tanda the dechi 지금 약사를 쇼하게 쇼여바 시샤치는 누구 알아? 이네 디데 지금 여러 뭐 대회 괜찮다. 소리 쳐도 대차야 지금 공부하는데 교과시 TV에서 알아주다 이제 그런 걸 넣어드리려 싸우랬어. 다 초치 당에도 상당히 다 소소 상주. 야, 로 좋은데서 마을 롭존도 지대네. 또 마을 처리 교마도 지. 단대 오늘 추진에 지대 더현들가 지금 일단들가 다 잡고 맞죠. 갑시네 디데 소소 상주랬어. 이네 개미 디데 레스 다다 주고 근데 가서 왜 내서 찾아서 또고요.
The real foundation of our belief that the Panchen Lama is still alive is, like we said, we are hoping for the best, and it is our belief that Panchen Lama is still alive, because it is very difficult to know the exact situation. So the question itself is very difficult to answer. So, and as for the second question, so since his abduction from a very young age, the PRC government hasn't been able to, brainwash the Panchen Lama fully. So it's just a matter of hope that the Chinese will one day change their policy and release any concrete evidence and information on the Panchen Lama.
Many times I have thought about this issue that you have raised. And one answer which comes to my mind is if, and this question if is quite big, if President Xi Jinping had some wisdom or common sense or interest in the interest of his own China, he would have been the first person to bring out the Panchen Lama, his abducted child, and present him before the world and assure the world that he is alive. Number one, he and his government, his Communist Party, would not have attracted so much of criticism on this issue. And number two, because now Xi Jinping is almost mad to occupy the institution of the Dalai Lama, and he wants the next Dalai Lama to be certified, to be identified, certified, and thrown, educated, and used in the Communist Party of China. It is very much in his interest that he should have brought the real Panchen Lama out. Because, by tradition, it is the Panchen Lama and Dalai Lama who find reincarnation of each other. So it would have worked in favor of China to present the real Panchen Lama and use him at whatever time he needs them, China needs him. But why he is not doing, I also have a small answer to that. I have traveled inside Tibet quite extensively. And I found that local people of Tibet have refused to accept this, what they call Gyami Panchen Lama. Gyami means the Chinese Panchen Lama or Sarkari Panchen Lama, the government sponsored Panchen Lama. People have refused to accept it. And one sign is wherever I travel, in taxis, in hotels, in ordinary people's homes, any public place where there is scope to present a big picture of Panchen Lama, they never put the Sarkari Panchen Lama's photo. They only put the same way of the dead Panchen Lama who passed away. His photos you will find here. Even in beer houses, if they sell beer, you will find his photos. Very interesting anecdote in Parkhor, in where people go around the Chokang holiest temple of Tibet in Lhasa. I found a Chinese woman selling posters of different Mao Zedong picture also, Sonia Sen's pictures, many of the Tibetan Rinpoches who are popular even today, who are surviving with the blessing of Chinese movement. Their pictures are there, and the pictures of the previous Panchal Lama are there. I asked that lady, where is the picture of the new Panchal Lama? And she looked at me and laughed at me. Are you mad? So I asked why you are with me. What she says, asking you, are you mad? I said, yes, I want to know. She said, Tibetan people don't buy his picture. So why should I keep it? You know, this was such a wonderful answer. Almost an elderly lady, a very petty shopkeeper who gave me the right answer to where Xi Jinping sponsored Panchal Lama statue. So I personally feel if Xi Jinping had this number, it would be in his interest and in the interest of his games, political games, that he should bring out that Panchal Lama. Only problem would be any Rinpoche, any current Panchal Lama, it becomes relevant if he had the proper religious training. And this boy, I don't think Xi Jinping's school have given him the training what a Panchal Lama needs to learn Hindu or rituals. So I think this is his problem. That's how it is.
May I now invite Simran to propose the vote of thanks? How small is that?
In the absence of the 11th Panchal Lama, supposing His Holiness announces the 12th Panchal Lama, China will have to come out. That's a strategic move. Pull them out if they have one. If they don't, then we have a 12th Panchal Lama.
The should take him to go to us.
Unfortunately, it is difficult to answer the questions. So, yeah.
Okay. Simran.
From all of us here at the Foreign Correspondents Club, a very big thank you to the Venerable Rinpoche, to Dr. Vijay Kranti, and to our friend Tenzin Punzen for the interpretations. We've had a wonderful discussion and we've all understood the cause of Tibet much more today. And this has been streamlined on the Facebook and the Twitter page of FCC. A recording of it will be available in the archives section of the FCC Facebook page in case anyone wants to go back and listen to the recording again. Once again, a big thank you from all of us here.
It was Simran to propose present mementos to our special guest.
Thank you.
Minute, group photograph. Photograph. Okay, all of you kindly come and just stand here so that they want to take a picture. All of you, please come here. Stand.
Can you come back, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.